So welcome, welcome, welcome to, I'm going to refer to this as the official launch of the 2025 Chapter Academy. And why I say that is because for those of us who remember from last year, the Academy starts officially with 2 of our virtual gatherings. Then we have our in-person gathering. And then, of course, we have our 2 additional virtual gatherings. This allows us to get everybody involved, regardless of whether you're able to actually join us for the fun, frivolity, and learning in person at Chicago, where today's temperatures in Maryland is just getting me ready to go to Chicago in February. What can I say? Loving that. We started off our chat today with, who are you? Where are you from? That's pretty typical, but also what is your New Year's resolution? And part of the reason why I thought that might be an appropriate question is because part of what we're doing in this webinar is launching our series of conversations for the new year in terms of what do we want to do differently, or what do we want to do maybe the same, only better, right? And so picking something that's going to be your resolution to work on as a chapter leader, I think will really help you get wherever you want to be. And so today we're hoping that you'll be able to leave away with an intention or something that you can action item on around this conversation of creating learning programs. I'm going to jump into our conversation today by giving you a quick hello on the flow and then a couple of quick announcements. So first of all, just so you know our flow, it is all about learning programs. And the way we're going to handle this is we are going to talk a little bit about learning programs, give you some ideas and answer some questions. But a huge portion of
think this
this
was
is going
on
to be
for
having
chapter
you go
academy, right?
into self-selected rooms to have deeper conversations about a particular event or event type. Okay. So I want you to know the first part is to give you ideas and get you thinking, but we're super excited to find out what you're able to create in those rooms. Before we do that, a couple of quick announcements. And I'm going to do this by giving you a date and wondering if you know the significance of the date. The first date I'm flashing out there is January 17th. Anyone have an idea of what is important about January 17th? I'm not going to let you hold on too long. No way! It's Stacy's birthday. Oh my gosh, that is awesome. Happy early birthday. And it's a Friday. I love this. These are so cool. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And yes, Ebony, registration ends for Leadership Academy. So we want you to make sure you get those registrations in. If you have any questions about that, please, 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 please reach out to Jennifer, either right here in chat or following up immediately on email. Way to go. And I think we need a Starbucks card for her as well. Wait a minute. I see Julia came in right on that as well. February 5th. What is special about February 5th? What is special about February 5th? Let's see if anybody has a sense here. Oh my gosh, you guys are awesome. And it's a nephew's birthday. I mean, what a wonderful thing to say. Absolutely. It's the Chapter Academy webinar number 2, same day of the week, same time. Look forward to seeing you on the 5th. And the final and third date is the 7th. That's 2 days after the final webinar. So is it National Weather Person's Day, honestly? The 7th or the 5th? Either way, I think that's pretty darn cool that we have picked some dates with some real significance to them. February 7th, anybody have a sense of what that date is?
One might be tougher since we haven't published it to everyone yet.
Oh, well, it's okay. Let's wait to see. I mean, yes!
Oh, brag flyers do.
Jennifer, you have got some of the sharpest volunteers. I knew there was somebody who knew that. Yes, and Robin came through too. I love that.
I know, but I want to go to Disney. I want to go to Disney on the February 7th.
That's true. That's true. So what is the brag flyer? Last year is something that we did and it was very well received. It was very last minute. So we gave you actually extra focus on this. This is your opportunity to put out one or more things that you have done that you really want to make sure get shared. Yes, they go into the chapter resource portal, but sometimes they get lost. This is an opportunity. We create a wall of honor, if you will, on all the brag flyers. We need yours by 2/7. So we'll give you a reminder on the 5th. It's one-sided, one page. And so please do that because, oh, I see we have somebody's asking about examples from last year. I think Jennifer might have some of those. So we'll check on that. So, oh, and by the way, little shout out to our California and Ontario because we already have your brag flag. Woo! All righty. So we'll get the samples out to you. It's not rocket science. It's really designed to create an opportunity for us to do some sharing. And there will be discussion time around those. So please do make sure we get that. Yes, indeed. All right. But we're here to talk about creating learning programs. And as the first slide said, for members and new members or new to be or soon to be members, because good quality professional development actually can help us grow membership as well. So I just wanted to throw out there that the reason why this is not only important, but there's a little bit of urgency that we do it well, but there's also a great opportunity if we do it well, is because it connects to, most importantly, one of the consistently top 3 reasons to join. In other words, people who join professional associations and those in NIGP as well, they tell us it is for the access to professional development. So we are really delivering on the member value proposition. Now, I'm certain that you all know that. I'm not as certain. Do you know that research shows that professional development actually helps job candidates stand out? So whether or not you are looking in your current position to maybe an increase in the job position, you're able to find another job opportunity. Maybe you're starting to look. Maybe you are someone that is looking for someone. Professional development really can help with that process. And it can help you as an employee to be able to stand out. So you just take those 2 reasons alone, and it's certainly worth our effort to go ahead and put some effort into this as our chapters. You know what? I love to hear a little bit about you and professional development. Not about your chapter per se, but about you. So here's a poll I'd love you to jump in and answer. What educational events did you attend last year? Now, this is not what did your chapter offer. If professional development is important to the reason why you join, and it's important to helping you move forward in your job, I'm curious, where did you put your time last year? I've given you lots of different options, including that wonderful option of other. This is multiple choice, so go ahead and put in as many as you need to or can or want to. If you put other, I'm going to ask you to jump in, of course, to chat and tell us what that event was. So I am seeing, you guys are really quick. I love this. I'm seeing lots of responses. Many of them I think are very cool because they're in the first 2 categories, chapter in-person, chapter webinar, chapter virtual event. I love seeing that. That means you're going to your own events and enjoying them. I've got almost 80% of you in. Oh, congratulations. We have Gabriella in chat saying that she earned her public procurement associate designation last year with NIGP. Woohoo! Oh, and Michelle starts Mondays off with the learning leader podcast. I love that. I'm going to end the poll and share the results with you all. I love this, and I love how there is an incredible mix of opportunities here. I really do appreciate that many of the things you picked are some of the more formal events, but take a look at the fact that you have got some peer-to-peer learning events that are going on, and you're being involved across the spectrum in terms of locally as well as nationally. All right, let me ask one other related question. Pull this one up. Why do you attend these educational events? So you told us what you attend. Share with us now why you attended those. And you don't have to check all of these. Check the ones that are really most relevant. Oftentimes, Mike, I love it. Peer pressure. I love it. I love that. And Stacy, thanks for adding in your other. I appreciate that. Okay. Well, not surprising. And I think maybe you should take a screenshot of this once I share it. You know why? Because this can be part of your marketing. This can be part of sharing in your own chapter why people attend professional development. We've got about 70, almost 80% of you. Let's give you a couple more. Not surprising to see the two leaders in this. And of course, I hadn't put peer pressure down necessarily, Mike, although one could say that a number of these categories could maybe be considered peer pressure. All right, we got about 80%. No worries. You do attend local hosted educational events and Rutgers University educational events. I love it. And it's good for us to get our professional development from many sources. And the real question we have as leaders that are trying to do professional development is understanding what are the other options in the area, and how do we, rather than compete, how do we create plans? How do we create calendars? How do we create an educational professional development strategy that leverages all of the resources in the area? I'm going to end the poll. So I love professional growth and expand my network and networking opportunities, because that gets at both the learning and the socializing part of being involved in learning events. Fewer were said employer required, but we may find over time, particularly as we are looking to grow the number of people in the understanding of your particular profession, maybe more employers will be requiring or nudging or urging. So that could be something that we might see change over time. I do think it's interesting, and I want to just make a note here, and maybe in chat, tell us what you think. Do you notice how the overriding, or maybe the most popular things happen to do with professional growth, sort of an overall professional growth and overall network, whereas the topic, right? The topic is a lower, I don't want to say lower, it's seen less frequently as a driver. Sometimes we get so concerned and powerful about do we have the right topic, we might be missing out on the fact that almost any program can offer professional development and help people meet other folks. So just an interesting notice there that it's not always the topic, and I didn't put speaker here because sometimes there are obviously speakers that would be a particular driver. So, all right, I'm going to stop sharing and continue moving on. You might have noticed that it looks like there's a third element for this slide. Let me now tell you and this is where I think there's a marketing opportunity for us. Research shows that there is a strong ROI for employers in creating a pathway for professional development. In many of the studies and the trends that are tracking workplace developments and how it is evolving, particularly since COVID, and you had the quiet quitting, and you had the massive quitting of sometimes of our boomer population, for example. It's really interesting that in order for you to stay competitive, to keep employees, and for you to find new employees and be competitive in the opportunities that are out there, the ability to show that you are going to invest in that individual by offering professional development, employee development opportunities, apparently is showing up as a critical success factor. So when you're now talking about or helping your members get a yes to attend, it might be worth them pointing out to employers that you can see a 58% increase in retention when you put together an opportunity for people to expand their own skill set. Not to mention that 59% say they improve overall job performance. 86% of employees say they would switch jobs to one that had more chances to grow. And 41% of employees say they'll leave their employers in the next year if they don't receive training. So some pretty strong stats there. All right. Enough about these stats and did you know and why did we come to or use or tap into professional development last year? Let's talk about what we're going to do this coming year with our chapters. All right. So I'm going to suggest to you that first and foremost, variety is the spice of life. We do not have to do the same thing that we did last year. We don't have to do the same thing month in and month out. As a matter of fact, experimenting, trying new things, giving different formats will allow us to connect with different people. Before we explore this, let me do one final poll with you, because I'd like to find out what types of learning do you already offer your members? Okay, it says a poll is being shared in this meeting. Do you all see a poll, but you don't see poll 3, or you do? Okay, let's try something else.
No, Peggy, I don't see it.
Okay, let me try. I might need a little bit of help on it. It's for some reason not showing. Oh, there we go. Let's try this. Ha, there we go. Love technology. All right. What types of learning activities do you currently offer chapters? And thank you, Brian, Mike, and Em for saying no poll, because it helps me know. So I put in here virtual, anything virtual, reverse trade shows, conferences, round tables, which are non-speaker events, peer-to-peer events, which are knowledge sharing, usually smaller hot topics, mentoring, lunch and learns, or brown bags, those more informal, and maybe there's other. So please feel free. Oh yeah, Carrie, if you're not certain, don't worry about it. Or if you want to make a guess based on what you remember from previous years, throw in the guess as well. It's totally up to you. So I think we covered just about every kind of learning offering, but if you have one that you don't see there, feel free, please, to put that in chat so we can continue to build our list of ideas. I've got close to 80% of you already in. I love that.
Peggy, can we ask that there's 6 people that have a different type that have selected other? I'd be very interested to know. There we go.
There we go.
What
There we
those
go.
are.
Oh, boot camps, of course. I love that. Yeah, workshops I probably would put into well, I guess I put that into roundtables, but perfect. Love it. Now scholarships. So when Heidi, when you say scholarship, do you mean that you're offering scholarships so people can take advantage of this? I'm assuming you're using scholarships in the money and cents standpoint. Oh, well, Brittany, that's okay. So you came in here so you would know what to do and get some ideas. I love it. Okay, excellent. Let me end the poll and share these results. All right. So quite a few of you are offering a virtual option, which is really good because everything we're hearing is that 25 will be like 24, which was like 23 and 22 and 21, which is there is still a preference in many cases to have an option for some virtual. I'm not talking about hybrid here. I'm just saying people want to know that a chapter or organization is going to offer both virtual and in-person options, because sometimes limitations mean I cannot get to in-person, which means I don't have any opportunities through you. Reverse trade shows and conferences, we're so used to seeing those, and I'm glad to see there's still some happening. I'm really liking to see the peer-to-peer events, the roundtables and the lunch and learns and brown bags, because those are all lighter lift in some cases, but also it's really about peer-to-peer connections. And of course, mentoring is an incredible way to take that and make it a very personalized learning opportunity. Excellent. So I am going to run through examples of formal events and informal learning opportunities. And I'd like, as I do this, if you do any of these, throw something in chat. If there is an example, if you've got a link to your calendar and you've got an example of an event or an activity that you'd like to share, throw that into chat. We'll collect all of those and then get them back out to you. But essentially, I want to, before we go into our breakout rooms, I want us to sort of have the broadest perspective of what in a learning event, what kinds of a learning events we could do. So under formal events, we can obviously have the traditional structured learning where you have someone at the front, there's a very clear format. Generally speaking, there are very clear learning objectives, and there is content developed around those learning objectives. It could be that you're really focused on an expert-led event versus could be an event where maybe you have a series of panelists or you have a variety of speakers, or it's more of a workshop where you're working as groups. Obviously, certification becomes a huge part of for formal learning. And then there is the peer-to-peer learning you see in roundtables and at networking. All of these there's a format around it that provides a set of structure, and it's usually tied to learning objectives, and it's usually tied to some formal concepts or formal learning processes. When we look at informal, many times we're talking about the one-to-one conversation. We're talking about things where we're talking about mentoring and coaching. This is very personalized. This is very it's based on personal or professional goals versus particular learning objectives of a particular content or issue. We see these in the terms of peer-to-peer connection or learning around learning circles and study groups. So a learning circle, if you're not familiar with the concept, a learning circle is where a group of individuals will get together, small focus group will get together, and they will meet regularly over a period of time to discuss specific topics, to share experiences around those topics, and to support each other's learning and understanding and use of the information that's developed. So for example, you might have a small group who meet monthly around to discuss a specific industry trend. You might have, I was just at a conference where embedded in the formal structured were these small learning circles. We were all assigned a group, we were given a group number. And at various times during the 3-day event, and then we'll have one more as a virtual connection, we're to get together, and it was groups of 6. We were supposed to get together, and we had some very specific questions that were really very general in nature to answer. The intent here was that we were getting this formal education here, and how were we each digesting it? How are we creating relevance in our own career? Oh, Michelle, I love this. Um, we have a lean-in circle for female and meet over lunch. Yes, I love this. This is the example. This is an example in action. Thank you for sharing that, Michelle. What I think is really cool about this is you would encourage your members to self-direct in this. If you get, and the great way of having a micro volunteer, right? Let's say you have somebody who's really interested in something to learn about it, or maybe they have something they've just learned and they really want to share it. And for you to help them find other members interested and coalesce in a learning circle, and you keep it to a certain period of time. CAMFT, which is the California Association of Marriage and Family Therapists, does this very nicely, where they take a social issue or a particular diagnosis and they'll say who's interested, and there'll be a learning circle to get around that. It's also, though, we can use online communities and forums. Did you know that you all have informal learning in your chapter, your online chapter leader community? And I think we should throw that link into the chat just in case someone's not familiar with it. That's your own informal learning where you can ask a question, have a dialogue around a particular topic. And finally, there is, of course, self-directed learning. The self-directed learning is less something you're necessarily going to offer, but think about this as you're thinking about your learning opportunities. Not everybody can get out to one of your events, even if it's virtual, right? Are you providing them, say on a quarterly basis, a set of recommended books to read, or articles, or podcasts to listen to? Are you helping them do some of their own self-directed learning? When you help people identify opportunities for them to learn more, it's going to shine back on you, the chapter. So even if I am not getting to all of your events, or few of your events, or none of your events, I am using you as a resource for how I can learn, which means at the end of the day, I check renewal. I check renewal because I joined for professional development and you gave me professional development opportunities. So this is what I want. I just wanted to give you guys a sort of a let's step back and look at all the different ways we can do it. Now, do not think that Jennifer and I are saying to you, you got to offer all of this. We're not. We're simply saying, here's like it's like a deck of cards. Pull any two out and have some fun with it. In chat, what am I in chat, what am I missing? What did I forget? What should I put on here that I didn't put on yet? I didn't put the word boot camps, and I probably should. Boot camp, that would be a great one for us to add.
Or whatever you may call your officer orientation, whatever you do to transition from one board to the other, certainly.
And you could do a boot camp even for emerging work supervisors at work, right? Or a boot camp for people who are shifting from procurement. If I get this wrong, please forgive me. But if they're shifting from procurement level, procurement specialist 1 into a leadership role, right? Where they're shifting or shifting from 1 level to 2, or there's lots of different ways that you can do those kinds of boot camps. But do not underestimate, to Jennifer's calling out there, that your boot camp, your way that you are developing your officers and your board members, is professional development, right? It's a check for renewal. All right. I wanted to, because we heard the question of when do I pick a panel? When do I pick a speaker? This was a question that we've heard a couple of times. And there's not a hard and fast rule, but we went back to all of our speaker SMEs, and we put together a list of pros and cons for a panel versus a speaker, and wanted to share that with you largely as, let's call this food for thought, okay? So when we look at and think about a panel, the cool thing is it allows you to have multiple perspectives around a topic. What's really cool is that if you've got a topic which isn't hard and fast, having some diverse viewpoints actually gives you a more comprehensive understanding of it. It's certainly, because there's built-in interaction with the panelists, it does build up the overall interaction, and it allows you, sometimes you generate more questions to a panel than you do a single speaker. So from an interactive perspective, it does that. I also think that in a general, panels build that audience engagement, in part because you have different viewpoints. So you could actually have, viewpoint A, B, and C, and then at the tables have them talk about A, B, and C. So I'm saying it helps you build in some opportunity for audience engagement. It does, however, naturally have some coordination, some challenges. You have to make sure that a panel really understands that they are a panel of peers, and because you can oftentimes get where one panelist doesn't get heard from and other does. And of course, you can have a panel in which you have uneven expertise or quality of presentation style. And sometimes that can be distracting. So it will take you some more speaker handling to do that. However, even though it requires some more coordination and it does require a little more hand holding, it has those really powerful pros. Now, speakers have a lot of their own pros. Actually, one of them is to counter those multiple perspectives is that you've got a focused expertise. So if you have a very technical topic, it's probably going to be better for you to have someone who's got that expertise and knows how to teach it and can get out there and teach it. What's interesting is, let's say you have something that has multiple perspectives, and so you do a set of, say, 3 30-minute webinars over the course of 3 weeks, and you get the focused expertise. And then on week 4, you bring all those speakers together for a panel. What a great way of building in the strengths of a single speaker to the strengths of the panel. Obviously, there's a consistent message. You're not going to have any disagreements or two sides of the coin there. And it's just easier logistics. The cons, quite frankly, is it does have a limited perspective. It is only the perspective of the speaker. And if they tend to be a hyper-focused individual, that could be a fairly narrow. It doesn't give additional room for engagement. The speaker oftentimes, like I'm doing now to a certain degree, just speaks and speaks and can fill in the spaces. So yeah, you kind of have to really demand a little more engagement. And there can be the risk of monotony. And if I get monotonous with somebody, please tell me. So I think that on a whole, you can't go wrong if you know what is it we're trying to do? What is it we're trying to do? Do we have a topic that is better to have a comprehensive view, or do we need to get down and dirty and focused? Do we have somebody who can moderate and keep that panel energized and equal? Or is that going to be a big lift? And so we're better off having a speaker who is competent and confident and can get the job done. So lots of good reasons. What am I missing on this slide? Go ahead, add into chat. What has been your experience of a panel over a speaker? What questions do you have about when to use a panel, when to use the speaker? Go ahead. Any thoughts here?
Peggy, while people are doing that, I just want to reinforce something you said, that I think doing the sessions, even if you spread them out, if you wanted to have that panel concept of multiple speakers individually, virtually for either each month and then bring them together at the end is a great way to bring in that multiple perspectives. And I agree with you. I think a panel offers that dynamic of engagement a little bit differently than just one speaker.
Heidi makes a great point here that panels challenge mindsets or theories. And that's true. Speakers tend to, more often, there tend to be teaching or elevating a particular topic. Oh, Russ, yes. Not only that, but maybe there's a particular issue or a topic, and you can see different ways of doing that. Oh, yes. RM Harmon, you make a good point that I think we need to underscore here is that you need to focus the panel down. You can't do large amounts of information. In an hour, you get a few questions if every panelist speaks. So being very thoughtful about it will be important. Absolutely. I love this. So I wanted just to share oh, interesting. I interrupted myself because John makes the point panels tend to restrict inadvertently audience participation and accidentally stifle the conversation between message sender and receiver. I think I can see how that could happen. I think to me, and I don't see this listed here, but I'm going to throw this out. And I probably should have put this on here. Panels need a good moderator. And the moderator is not one of the speakers, and the moderator should not be a subject matter expert on the panel's topic. The moderator should not be a contributor. The moderator should be a moderator, and I think that would really help bring the audience participation in. And so to that end, let me give you two thoughts. One is that one of the way I've done panels a couple times when I moderated them is I have put stickies on all of my, and I've used a virtual board for a panel in Zoom, but at the table. And I ask people to write down questions as they hear it as we're going through the panel. And then I take a pause and I go around and I collect the questions. And then I look at the questions and I say, look, here's a theme I'm seeing across these questions, so that I make sure that they get the audience participation. Another audience participation thing that worked really well at the Maryland Recycling Network conference that we ran last year is we had a topic that had a little bit of a pro and con to it. So we had 4 panelists, 2 of them talking on one and 2 of them talking on the other side. Before we got started, we did a poll to ask people which they, it was a question like, it was like a should we or shouldn't we? Like, where do you think? Is A or is it B? And then afterwards, we ask, is it A or B? And we looked at how the audience's opinions changed over the conversation. So it was rather interesting. So there's a couple of things you can do. Oh, interesting, Tony. I think, yes, RM Hammer. I don't know your first name, so I'm calling you RM Harmon. Yes, skill is A. A panel can have groupthink. A good moderator can pull that out. But I love the fact that I think, how am I going to put this? I really appreciate that you're seeing some of the challenges. If you can think ahead of time, what could be some of the things that will not go the way we want them to, it's a better chance that you can find a way to regulate that and get it where you need to. All right. We're going to give you a quick look at the NIGP resources, and then we want to get you into some breakout rooms once I give you a couple of examples to chew on. Jennifer, over to you.
Sure. So, we're talking about these panelists and these speakers and who could they be? If you attended our resource webinar last week, we just highlighted all 3 of these things in that webinar. And these are examples of resources that NIGP can put in place that you can tap into for those events. You can host a course, you can have your ambassador, staff, or business council speak. And as always, I remind you guys to go to the resource guide. We have a whole section on events and conferences, and see what others are doing, what their subjects are that they're presenting on, and who their speakers are. So lots of resources for you to fill in those, who are those panelists and who are those speakers going to be.
Yeah. And Jennifer, I mean, one of the things I saw also under events and conferences, there's a whole bunch of resources on sponsorships and engaging vendors.
Absolutely. There's actually even a great video there of one of our sponsors that talks about how they want to be approached for money, and how do they want to be involved in these conferences and events you do, and how you possibly have them as speakers. We hear that a whole lot about, we don't want the sales pitch, but yet we want to work with them. And how do you put that relationship in place as a speaker or as a sponsor within one of your events? But yes, lots of information on that there.
And the other thing I noticed, and Jennifer, I thought this was fun, was that there's even a button, and it has a little thing on top of it that says, check out what your fellow check out what your fellow chapters are offering. In other words, you can actually go ahead from that page, click on and see what's happening around the country in terms of what events are coming up for chapters. Another way of gathering ideas and suggestions and connections. So I really love the fact that that you can that NIGP's got some resources for you, so you're not on your own at all. And it was really neat when you say tap the ambassador, staff, and a business council. So ambassadors could come out and do content for your chapters, correct?
Absolutely. They can do content on NIGP content, but also some of them do have some content in their back pocket that they'd be willing to speak on as well. And all of those are paid for by NIGP. So this doesn't cost your chapter any money either.
Excellent. Very cool. So we wanted to make sure you were aware of the resources. Now, you can be resources to each other as well. And I want to kind of make that point by actually sharing from the field a couple of stories, because I think the resources that get underestimated sometimes is tapping into what another chapter has done, either to say, can we collaborate on that or cooperate on that, or to say, tell me more, let me get my version over here, right? So we went out and we asked a couple of chapters to let us know what they're doing. We know, frankly, that almost every one of you, I said almost only because two people said in chat that they're not sure what they're doing and they haven't done anything. So aside from that, we know all of you are doing fabulous things. I just happened to hear about these four chapters, and so I wanted to share with you a couple of examples from the field. The first one comes to us from Kentucky, and I call it the Tap into the Talent at Hand, because as I understood from what they submitted, they had a board member in the legal profession, and they tapped into that legal knowledge to teach three different legal classes. Now, what I think is cool about that is sometimes we are looking at the people around us, and we don't know enough about their background to know what else they can do, right? And we sometimes have a unique little local grown program that we can put on by a local expert who then becomes a mentor or a coach or someone that can be tapped to as a resource. So we're building the breadth of the network and the tightness of the network while we're also getting professional development. So I thought that was pretty cool to tap into, as I said, the talent at hand. Then coming from Sampo is they do an annual mentorship program. And I think what's really cool is that this is getting beyond the traditional learning programs, but this is also understanding that people need some one-on-one connection, some one-on-one training, some one-on-one learning. Now, apparently they also do a monthly free webinar from Lourdes Cross, which I think is also a cool thing, is tapping into talent that is at hand. The third one comes from IPPA. Now, what's neat about this particular one, oops, well, let me just go backwards. I've got my fingers are just doing some jumping around here. So they have traditionally do some NIGP sponsored classes, but to round this out, they put in some state specific procurement courses. Now they've had two different statute classes. One was centered around political subdivision statutes and one focused around state statutes. But anyway, they offered these courses that could appeal to both members and non-members and across various municipalities. This all was part of creating their first introduction to public procurement course, which focused on Idaho laws and regulations. What I thought was really cool is they tapped a panel of 4 of their board members with over 60 years of combined experience in order to be sort of the guide for the day's topics and discussions. So essentially, they're taking something that has been built, that we know about, we live with it, but saying, what is the state specific elements that we should be putting together? It then becomes, in a rhythm of programs, it becomes a really cool way of adding that spice of variety. Now, in addition, which I thought was really cool, is that one of their goals, I think last year was to reach out to other parts of the state, because it's big. And what I thought was really cool was that they were able to take that intro class to a member agency who hosted it in Eastern Idaho, thereby tapping into a much needed isolated area. So in some cases, because the NIGP courses can cover so many topics, you can have some of that stuff right here already done, and you can put your effort into things which are uniquely you. The fourth comes actually from our Friends of the North, Ontario. I love this. They offer a collection of less formal, kind of facilitated gatherings, which are virtual. They refer to one's called Coffee with Counsel, which is offered quarterly. It's a regular meeting space where they bring in legal experts and they will discuss current issues of relevance. Then they have groups for procurement specialists and for people leaders meetings, right? So these are quarterly gatherings that are facilitated by peers that offer an opportunity for that segment to get together, learn from each other, and share new ideas. It's a really, really flexible format. And the goal is that everybody that showed up, is voice is heard, and that all the topics are kind of in the moment and they're trending topics, right? So in terms of being able to create some segment focused, which allows you to take, say, your conference, which has a little bit for everybody, right? And then have a couple of things for a very specific group, allows your individual members to find their own community in your larger community, which really supports their ability to see the value of NIGP throughout the entire system, because we have many levels of community. So those are 4 examples. Technically, I think you could say, because IPPA gives us sort of an extra one to sample, we could actually say 6 examples, couldn't we? Up from the field. And I'm sure there are lots of other examples. What we'd like to do now is have you have the opportunity to pop into some rooms and have discussions where you're going to share your own examples and you're going to ask questions of each other. Does that sound good? Give me some emoji thumbs up. Give me some chatter. Tell me if you guys are ready to go in and start talking with each other. With and to and connecting. Are we ready? Yeah, okay, good. I like to know that I've got people in the room that wanna connect. Awesome. Excellent. All right. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to try something that's really a bit different, and I'm going to ask you to come along for this ride. What you can see right here on this thing is that we have picked, and I say we, if you like this list, it was Jennifer and me. If you don't like this list, it was Sam and Don. I don't know who they are, but what Jennifer and I did was we sat down and we said, what are the typical questions we have when someone says, I need a sample of, or I want to know how to, what are the kinds of events that they're usually interested in? So we identified the following elements. We identified that you were interested in talking about virtual. Now, this virtual is less about should we do it, right? It's really about how do I do it better. So some of you are saying, how do I do it better? When do I go virtual? How do I put virtual in the context? So if it's virtual, yes, Megan, you are picking up your own rooms. Perfect. Virtual. The second one is doing joint events, virtual or in person. So in other words, if you're a chapter who would like to be able to collaborate with another chapter, for example, you might want to go into the room to talk about joint events. Maybe though, you have other folks in your area, non-NIGP chapters, for example, and you want to just get a sense of how do you do a joint event. You might want to go into this room. Let's say that you're really interested in exploring how to do panels better. You want to go into that room. Maybe it's about hot topics. Like I want to do a set of hot topics, or I need to know what the hot topics are, or I need to know how to identify the hot topics most relevant to us. You're going to go into the hot topics room. Perhaps you've got a multi-day conference, or you're thinking about taking a single day and making it multi-day. Then I'm going to have you go into the multi-day conference room. Are you looking at starting a reverse trade show, optimizing your reverse trade show? You got questions around your reverse trade show? Go ahead and pop into that room. Maybe you're thinking, I want to know how to do some of those, coffee conversations, those learning circles, those peer-to-peer learning and sharing events. Pop into that. Maybe you're interested in mentoring. Now, here's how this is going to work. In just a few moments, we're going to launch a poll, and the poll is going to have every one of these options. You are going to click on the topic that you are interested in doing. When you select that, that will then send you to that room. Okay, so let me repeat that. You're only going to pick one. You're going to pick one. It's going to send you to that room. You are going to get into that room. You're going to do a quick, once everybody's in, do a quick round robin intro. Now, I don't know how many people are going to be in the room. There may be 24, and so you can't go all the way around. There could be 5 or 6, and you can easily go right around. But somehow get a chance to real quickly say who you are. Maybe you use chat. Maybe you do whatever you can, right? Say hello and figure out what are the questions. You are self-directed. So we're really hoping that you can have a great conversation in there, and you can make sure everybody gets a chance. Now, once you've gotten started, once you've chose the question or chose the direction to go, get started sharing. We're going to tell you to keep an eye and for your in-room messages for time checks. We're hoping, and based on my little calendar right here, we're hoping that you're going to be in these rooms for at least 20 minutes. So if you're going to be in for 20 minutes, then we're going to suggest that you simply watch the in-room messages. We're going to listen, we're going to follow, we're going to bring you back out again. I have a couple of folks who have to leave, getting pulled away. We really apologize for that. If you should get into a room and you find out that, it's just you, or maybe you find out it's a small group and so it doesn't take long for the conversation, and you want to see about another room, pop back into the main room here. We'll be waiting for you, and we'll help you choose a room and get into that other room. So here's the deal. When you go to leave a room, you're going to have 2 options. One is to go back to the main room to leave the breakout, and one is to leave the meeting. If you say leave the meeting, you are bye-bye leading the meeting. You'll have to find your link and get yourself back in again. So just make sure you pick the right option when you get there. Are there any questions in chat? If you do not see the topic you thought was what you wanted to look at, throw it in chat and I'll be more than happy to suggest which room might be the right room for you. Again, if you get in there and you're not sure, then just go ahead and do that. I'm going to ask our wonderful Justin to go ahead and launch that poll, and let's get started. So again, you're going to make a choice. And when you make that choice, you're going to be sent to that room. Have a great conversation.
Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back. So in chat, let's light up chat with your aha, your oh my gosh, I'm going to do this now, your oh my gosh, I'm still not sure about this question. So you've left the room. What questions, what actions, what ahas? Let's just light up this chat.
Yeah, bye.
Welcome back, everyone.
There they go. Now they're really coming in. All right, light up chat. What's your aha? What is your question, your takeaway, your action item? Go ahead and let us know in chat. We've got a few minutes left and we want to do a good share here so that if you were in a different, obviously, if there was another topic that was of particular interest to you, let's find out what was in that room so that you are gaining from both conversations.
Either in chat or if you want to unmute and want to share
Sure.
from your group, we'd love to hear.
Ooh.
I'll start. We did panels and we all kind of agreed that we like the idea of a panel because you get a different perspective. If you have one speaker, you're getting just what that, what that speaker thinks or how he reacts to the questions. When you have a panel, you all come from a little different place, so you look at things a little differently. And I love to see how other people deal with situations and problems, because they come from a different environment or size of town or city, that kind of thing.
Love that. I also, if you guys again, add some stuff into the chats. Russ talked about how to get people engaged virtually, always a question and concern. I think Peggy does that really well with us as a group here, is asking questions to get people involved. And I like that, call out people's names, make it personalized.
So I want to know who Cindy was talking to. She said they got great information from a seasoned chapter member that has a great program. Cindy, in mentoring, who was it? And we need to tell them that we need to have them chat more.
Of course, it was Fatima Calkins. Yes, so we were discussing mentor and mentee and relating that over to student membership as well. And so they have a program in Central Florida, and I think our biggest hurdle in our chapter is just having it started, just jumping over that hurdle to jump in the pool and get started. So I think, once we have that survey out, some information on our members, then the start, it's not going to fail because it's not wrong. So you can tweak it, you can move it, you can adapt it. So it's just getting started with that program. So, and like she gave us some good, feedback on some scenarios and experience, and she has some documents she's going to share with us. So she's already mentoring us in starting that program.
Peer-to-peer learning, knowledge sharing in action.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Oh, okay. Stacy says they've got some great ideas on incentivizing volunteer for events and ideas for events that could pull multiple chapters together with specialized information and how to utilize vendors to help pay the fees. Stacy, that sounds great. We want to see some more stuff happening, and we don't have to we're not all ships passing in the night. We can actually pull together as a regatta. Okay. Oh, interesting. A reverse trade show. Now that's an interesting concept. Do they duel it out? Okay, all right, maybe not. Excellent.
I've heard about that reverse. It was anxious to see. I think I can't remember what chapter was doing it, but if they had any success with it.
I think other people are doing it, but last year was our first time doing it. And we found it was great. The vendors enjoyed it. We did it with our reverse trade fair, and then we also had vendor tables at our annual conference. We would do things to encourage our members to visit the tables. And one of the vendors says he got a lot more out of it because he go to other conferences where he could sit at the table all day and no one visit, but he enjoyed attending ours because it was more interactive. So we felt that was a win for everybody.
And Tina, what chapter are you with?
MPPOA, the Michigan chapter.
Okay, excellent. We have got 3 minutes left.
So
Yeah.
can you hear me? This is Tabitha. So the Central Florida chapter did a trade show and reverse trade show this year at the same exact time. For the first time ever, it was our 25th RTS and our first ever trade show. We had the vendors, it allowed them to do business to business opportunities and government business at the same time. They were there with us for the whole day, allowed them to leave their booths, come chat with us. We made certain when it got a little slower that our members went to them. And I had quite a few of them mention that they did receive some business to business opportunities since they were there as well. So we didn't have that many. We did it as a sponsorship. We had available 10 slots and we filled 6 of them for our first year.
Nice. I like the
And
fact-
everybody, they all seemed to enjoy it. Yeah.
Excellent. Very cool. Well, Jennifer, this is giving us what we needed for some of the roundtable conversations we're going to have in Chicago. So this is really nice for us to do this. We've got exactly 1.5 minutes left because I got to get you guys out of here. You don't have to tell anybody that the meeting ended, but you can stay quiet in your offices or whatever. But as you get ready to leave, go ahead and throw into chat topics or discussions that you'd like for the future. You know that you have 3 of these learning events in addition to the in-person in Chicago. We are building the in-person in Chicago with a lot more pods or conversations. And so go ahead and throw those in. And while you're doing that, I will thank you for spending the time with us today. Know that you will get the slide deck. And thank you actually for everything that you do as a leader for public procurement and as a leader for NIGP and for your chapter. Jennifer, any more words?
No, I will post recordings. We will include those in Leaders in the Loop and the slide decks. From a comment that was made in chat, I will send out all the Zoom links for the final 3 that we have coming up. So to get those on everybody's calendars, I'll go ahead and get those out and then do a reminder with our agenda or the subject that we're going to cover in that one a day or 2 before. But thank you guys for your time and hopefully you enjoyed our kickoff. I think we didn't mention it at the beginning, but what I was excited about this year, and we did it last year, we made it an intentional to not only invite those that are coming in person, but your chapters, leaders that couldn't be there. These are standalone subject matters and discussions, and we wanted all of our chapters to be able to have access to this regardless if you were going in Chicago. So thank you for all those leaders that came and participated, even though you're sending somebody else to Chicago. We loved having you.
Awesome. Excellent. Until we see you again.
February 5th.
You.
Thanks, guys. See you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.